Well, hi guys. It's been a while since we had a kitchen table doctor rescue and repair, and tonight I finally had a little extra time on Monday night, and I thought I'd tear into the Technics SA-510 stereo receiver and amplifier, rated at a full 60 watts per channel, and retailing for $420, manufacturer's suggested retail price $425 back in the day. I'm guessing the early 1990s. What's distinctive about the first off, let me tell you, I love the Technics line of receivers. It was Panasonic's flagship high-tech sort of approach to stereo receivers. It was their marquee brand. It was also the brand that they often did innovations and attempted to advance the state of the art in terms of putting computer control inside of a stereo receiver, the first digitals and things like that. You know, it was kind of shaky technology to think about digitizing radio and stereos and things like that, because analog was a dependable thing. You know, you turn a dial, the pointer moves, you get your station, and that's it. When you're talking about digital inputs, you're talking about a totally different beast here in the way that we capture signals, locking them in with crystals and things like that, taking those signals, amplifying them, sending out to the speakers at a full 60 watts per channel. Anyway, you don't care about any of all that. Let's just say the SA-510 was a hell of a receiver in its day. You know, the output transistors and stuff, they had to be heated up beforehand using the STK module amplifier chips on things, as we'll see inside when we tear into it. I guess about a month ago, we had a new guy move into the neighborhood from Iowa, and of course I'm standing on my back porch, and I never miss a chance to see what people have on their recycle pots to go out. And sitting on the top of his blue recycle can, I spotted the SA-510 receiver. Of course, I couldn't help myself. I headed out. I walked out of the property down the alley. Hey, how you doing? Introduce myself, Rosie, blah, blah, blah. I see, are you deep sixing that SA-510 receiver? He said, yeah, I bought it originally back in Iowa. It worked real good. I got it out here a week ago. I spent a couple days on it. It doesn't work anymore. I drove all the way from Iowa to California. Loved this 22-pound receiver with me, which is a beautiful high-end, medium to high-end Technics product, but it does not work anymore. I said, look, I'll tell you what. I got an SA-200 something in the kitchen there. She's chooching good. She's running good. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you that working one. You know, I had the bashed-in glass front on it, but I got her working good. She sounded great. It's about 25, 30 watts a channel. The guy has a 600 square foot apartment. He's like, done, you know. Let me see if I got this right. Let's see. Dumb chick alert. You're taking the non-working SA-510 receiver, and you're giving me your chooching SA-210 or whatever. Said, let's shake hands, and it was a done deal. Okay, I didn't expect, on the walk back from his place to my house, a grand total of about a 2-minute walk, I didn't expect lightning to strike it and hit it, and all of a sudden it's going to start working, right? I'm not that lucky. So I came in, I came home, I did a cursory plug-in, and I had it up on the Variax, which is the variable voltage supply that I use when I get something new that's not working and I don't want to fry it in case there's a short circuit or something like that. I put it on the Variac and I slowly increase the voltage till I get her up to 115, 120 volts, and she was fine, no smoking or anything, but no power whatsoever to the unit. Well, fast forward a month, we're here tonight, we got some time, we're going to get into the unit and we're going to see what's going on with her. And hopefully it's going to be a pretty easy fix. We'll get to a little bit of a light show up front here. We'll be able to hook some speakers to it. I got a couple of small boys here. And just for starting out, I don't want to blow anything out because this is a really powerful unit. I don't want to wreck the speakers, but the wrap on these Technics computer controlled things, they had the first module, amplifiers, the STK type of modules on them. They were easy to blow out. They were easy to overheat. I don't want to do something stupid on the way to glory here. So, okay, let's stop a second. Let's get the cover off and let's take a look. Okay, guys, we got the cover off of the SA-510 here, and I'd say it's moderately clean. I'm gonna put this on macro mode. I'm using the Kodak Touch and Play tonight because it's got a real good macro mode to it. And just on first visual insight here, looking inside, she looks pretty clean. I mean, there's an accumulation of dust and things on the inside. We'll get the compressed air to get that blown out. You can see some of the heat sinking that the unit uses here, and that is just massive heat dissipation sinking. So right off the bat, if you knew nothing else about this unit, you'd know, like, geez, this thing is really, you're probably going to be able to fry an egg on the top of this thing. Thus, a lot of people use they mount a computer fan on the top underside of the lid here and get air drawn through the unit. I don't immediately see anything that stands out in the way of things that aren't connected on the unit, but one thing we certainly want to do is we want to take our time and meticulously check all of these connectors. Look at this. This is almost like looking at the motherboard of a computer with all the various ribbon cables and all that. So you really know you're looking at, I don't want to say early computer technology, but you're looking at the first really modular systems that were designed to have, even though you could say, oh no, Marantz had the audio boards, the tuner boards, all of those things that could be pulled out easily and changed out, so repair technicians didn't have to waste a ton of time trying to diagnose things. They could just slip a whole new board in. And I'll tell you, the modular stuff, there's a lot to be said for it, and it just works great from the repaired side too. We're not micro motherboarding here. In other words, we have all of our components on the board. You can see all of the capacitors here. You can see all the resistors. You can see the integrated chips, the control chips that are on here for the various functions. And I'm going to be particularly paying attention to the ribbon cables, because I'm always concerned when somebody tells me, hey, when I left home about 1,400 miles ago, or 1,800 miles ago, this computer, this stereo was working great, and now it's not. So what it makes me think is, and as usual, it's not the electronic components that go bad on these systems. It's the mechanical interfaces where something mechanical is hooking onto something electrical, whether it's a fuse that can blow, whether it's a ribbon cable that can come out. It's usually something like that, especially if it was working and then mysteriously it's not working. Let's be real. Okay, this guy, and I'll just grab this. I think it's up on top of the, I think I put it up on the fridge here. Yeah, he has his service manual here. And this was a person that was very, very meticulous about the way they recorded and maintained product. And he's an elderly guy, about 75 years old. So I don't think he's the kind of guy that jacked the volume up and went crazy. His Team Electronics, he bought it from in Dubuque, Iowa, 10/21/1985. So we're talking about an old bomber here, but the old is not bad when it comes to stereos. Another nuts feature I forgot to mention on here, it has the stereo channel. It has a little computer memory here, a little chip built in. You can put batteries inside of it, and it maintains your station presets. And he was cool enough to have removed, excuse me, the batteries except the last one in there. And you know, because I've seen a lot of these where the people didn't remove the batteries from the compartment. They got rusted. It spilled on the inside of the unit, and it created a holy mess in here. All right, well, look, that's the simple, quick overview. Excuse me, that dust got on me. Nothing immediately jumped out, but now it's time to check some connectors here, and we're going to see what we have, and we're going to put a little time in this unit tonight and get it checked out. All right, be back to you in a bit. Okay, guys, we're back, and just as an interesting aside, while I was doing my exploring, you know, the company's very proud of itself, Panasonic, and I don't know how well you can see that. It says computer drive emblazoned right on the side of that chip there. And you know what? That's one of the first really computer-controlled integrated circuits that's in the in stereo systems in the mid-1980s. And they were so proud of that, they just blew the name on the side of it. But anyway, that's a hard chip to find these days, so we want to be very careful. You know, I was in here exploring, and one of the things I like to do when I suspect that maybe we have something work loose, I like to start fiddling, and I like to pull on things. You know, I don't want to rip metal aux resistors off the board or anything, but I want to take a good look at things. I see the power supply. I don't see any contacts. I don't see anything that's not wire wrapped and soldered on, which is first class. Let me just tell you guys, when you see a stereo manufacturer, not only did they wire wrap these wires on here, you know, for the power supply, the off feeds for the transformer and things, the different windings and voltage outputs, but they also took time to solder those connections, and I really like that because that minimized. I've seen so many times why wire wrap connections have come off, and I've gone crazy trying to track down where problems can be, and they're right in something as simple as that. I've gone around, I checked all the components. I always work in a very orthodox manner. Sometimes it's left to right, sometimes it's right to left. Today, since I have a little more elbow room on the right side of the unit, I went through, I checked, I wiggled, I checked every connection here to make sure it was good. You know, I didn't see anything loose, because when I tell you once again, when somebody tells you the unit was working when I left Iowa, and it wasn't working when I got to Santa Rosa here, and I just give up on it. You know, I came and I checked the fuse is fine in there, and I just give up. It's just, you know, I've had it for you know, almost over 25 years here. It's time to let it roll, and I'm thinking to myself, no, you're holding a great piece of technology here, do not throw it away. You know, these units go for $95 easy on the eBay resale market, and this thing doesn't have a ding or a dent in it. It's only missing a little bit of the base switch. Anyway, base control switch. Anyway, I'm coming by, I'm working halfway through, I'm thinking, well, we're going to have to drop back to plan B here soon. And I spy down here, and what do I see down there? I see a connector that's off of the control panel of the unit. And I know myself instantly, if you take out this control board under here, because you can see on the other side there's a lot of connectivity that comes into that board. And I just know, although I didn't immediately identify that board, I identified that as a major component item, to the point there, if this is not plugged in, this is not working, and you're not going to have the proper computer feed and everything else. And you know what? These stereo receivers will just go into a protect mode. The relay will click on, and that'll be it. You won't be able to get any power to the unit. You won't be able to get the unit started at all, and lo and behold, that's what happens. So if we're lucky, and this connector seems like it's lost its you know, its little side grab chooch on it, I don't think it's going to be as simple as just popping it down there to have a fix. We might have to use just a little dab of contact cement on this side, the non-contact side, to have that hold pretty good. And I'm just betting with that out of the system that this whole Technics SA-510 is such a finely balanced stereo system that without this board in the operational scheme of things, there's no way the whole unit's going to work. Not only does this control the tuner board that you see up here, and you see all the coils and all the adjustments for doing the tuning and getting the frequencies, the alignment and all that, so you immediately know that that's the tuner board. But if the tuner board is not a functional part of the operation, you know, it's not a simple matter like most of the older stereo receivers that you'll still get power and still be able to see lights and things. Not necessarily on this unit. So I'm kind of hoping I'm going to get that security, and I'm going to get a little bit of contact cement, not a lot, because I want to be able to make that, take that connection out sometime in the future if I have to change out the board. Then I see a few other things that are kind of sketchy in here in the way of connectivity too. So I wouldn't be surprised bouncing in the back of a Ryder or a rental truck from you know, from Dubuque, Iowa out to Santa Rosa, up and down mountains and stuff, and on some pretty tough terrain sometimes that things just don't work their way loose. These stereo systems are designed to play, right? They're not designed to be hooked to Conestoga wagons and come over the Rocky Mountains. So, all right, I'm going to check that out, and we'll get back to you guys. I was in here too, guys, and I didn't, you remember my last upload recording, I didn't like the looks of this ribbon connector down here too. And I don't want to say that somebody was fiddling with the unit, but you know, I don't want to go over and ask the guy, gee, did you play with the unit trying to get it fixed? But we have a break in the ribbon cable here. Okay, there's another problem where we're not going to get any power to the unit because this SA-510 goes into a pre-check mode. It fires up the computer, it heats up the chip here, it heats the, you know, it preheats the whole unit. Okay, and if this onboard little computer, this chip here, senses that there's any kind of problem with the system, you're just not going to have a startup. This is the protective mode of the Technics SA-510. So I'm going to have to come down here now. I'm going to have to get this off here. I'm going to have to go down below, add a little bit of wire to the bottom of that little cable feed on the left-hand side of the ribbon cable. I'm going to have to try to inject it back into there and get that seated, because I feel sure that we're not going to get any power unless we get that properly seated. Okay? Alright guys, well, I'm hoping I got it pretty good. You know, you can see it looks like a much better connection now than what it was. I had exposed wire out of here. It had actually broken and it didn't leave me a lot to work with. So what I ended up doing was cutting the ribbon cable down. It had about 3 or 4 inches to spare. I cut it down and I soldered the ends of the 5 different leads on it. I reseated them down there. I pushed the top down on the clamp on it. It's holding good, and it's a much better connection than what it was. I also secured that connection there. So, you know, I initially, you know, I'm pleased with that. I haven't put the power to it yet, but what I also want to do is take some time to use some of the dust remover. And I want to spray it out real good. Just to loosen some of that dust up, and you can already see how much cleaner the unit is. Because, you know, if a unit is already very heat sensitive, like this Technics SA-510, the last thing you want to do is let it wear a winter overcoat of dust and grime. Okay? You want to try to clear that off real good. And I think she's real good and clean right now. So. I did have the Variac up earlier, and I didn't have any smoke testing. I had it already up, so I threw the power to it earlier, and I was happy to report that, unlike before when I could get no power out of it whatsoever, when she fired up, and you can smell her cooking away in there already. You can see that the unit is getting power now. And you can see that it went through its preheat mode because it's warm now. You know, it's about 85 degrees. And she's in auto mode. The thermal checks out. You know, if there's any problem with heat or anything like that, this unit will not go. Okay, that's it. It has a high degree of self-preservation and protection. All that remains to do now, we want to very carefully, you've got hookups for phones and tuner. You can run auxiliary devices, CD player, Apple, iPod, iPods, all that through it. You've got the volume control, and over here we have the analog. It looks like we might be missing a light here, which is not the end of the world. I'm not sure yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hook up a couple small speakers to it, and we'll see what we get here, and we'll see if we can get her sounding out. Okay, guys, I'm feeling pretty good about the unit. She's pretty cleaned up inside, so let's get on with the program. Alright guys, well, I don't want the YouTube police after me, but mission accomplished. I don't want to put any real power to these speakers, but I'm very happy. I think we accomplished everything we wanted to do with this repair mission. And what we'll do now is get this thing set up for the living room, and we'll get her cranking up into some decent speakers, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for watching, guys. A lot of fun.